What's up, guys? How we doing? It's a little Wednesday Linc on a Thursday. A little special edition because, we're busy and OTAs and everything else. But, Thomas, good to see you.
Good to see you. Been a while, as in 24 hours since we saw each other up in Philadelphia, which I'm sure we will talk about. But you mentioned OTAs. Philadelphia's off today, although all the guys are still in the building today. Today's more of like a rehab, kind of get a lift in, and obviously do some film study. Next OTA practice is actually tomorrow, so that's why we jumped on here today, because we had a bunch of videos go out yesterday. We both did one, and so that's why we're here on a Thursday afternoon, but great to be here.
It is. It absolutely is. And shout out to everybody in the chat. Drop a like if you haven't already. Mr. Manu says 98 days until football. That's right, if we're keeping track. 98 days. It'll be here before we know it.
Under 100 days is not a bad thing, and obviously Philadelphia gets the first crack at it. Normally you have to watch the Thursday game and then wait a couple more days until Philadelphia would play on a Sunday, and now we, of course, win a Super Bowl and get game number 1. So even sooner, 98 days.
Yes, and might be, 2-3 days until something with Bryce Huff. We can go wherever, but it feels appropriate with the Bryce Huff news and everything. So
we should start there. Yeah.
Yep, Jeff McLane, for those that are not, that's the first report officially. But Jeff McLane saying that Bryce Huff not being a part of the Eagles' plans. That was interesting. I'm trying to find the official tweet, or I guess retweet from, I think Anthony did it, so I'll put it on the screen. But not a huge surprise if we were reading between the lines that we both talked about on the videos recapping the first day, and then also not having seen him on Tuesday when we were there. But it's just add a little bit more fuel to the fire, and the reason that June 1st could be a very important date.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on my show yesterday. I talked about Bryce Huff not being there at Wednesday's OTA practice. We obviously didn't see him at Tuesday's OTA practice, although we didn't have a lot of time watching them on the practice field whenever we were at the Novacare Complex to kind of be like, okay, where's Huff? Where's this and that? Mm-hmm. And so I kind of wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt, because there are plenty of people that will miss OTAs. Reed Blankenship missed OTAs on Wednesday. No idea why. He hadn't said why, although clearly he's going to be out there and, ready to go hopefully either tomorrow or during mandatory minicamp in a couple of days. But the fact that Bryce Huff was not there was getting a little bit of red flags, but I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt just in case, because in my mind, as of 24 hours ago, Bryce Huff was still going to make $17 million a year. He still had a resume 2 seasons ago with the Jets where, if you can get close to that again, this defensive line, you're going to have one-on-one opportunities. Maybe you're just a pure pass rusher, but we can use you. And then, of course, we found out, as you mentioned, Jeff McLane saying he has not gone to any of the offseason workouts. And a lot of Eagles have been at the Novacare Complex, even when they didn't have to be, because a lot of them just live up there in Jersey, in Philadelphia. You'll get a workout. You go do your kind of offseason stuff. He's not a part of their plans going forward. And like you said, June 1st comes, he will be a post-June 1st cut. I would be shocked if you find a trade partner for Bryce Huff. And if you're a healthy scratch in the Super Bowl, Josh, if he would have played in the Super Bowl 5-10 snaps, right? If the Eagles would have just shown the National Football League, we believe that he could maybe give us a little spark, then maybe a team would trade a 7th-round draft pick, a 6th-round draft pick for him. But a healthy scratch in the Super Bowl, and he didn't play hardly at all the second half of the season. Jokes Hunt basically took his lunch. He's going to get cut. They're going to eat the dead cap money. They're going to let him go, probably sign with somebody else for a lot cheaper. But Bryce Huff's days are numbered. I think it's going to be less than a week until he's gone.
It would not surprise me to see him gone one way or another. We all hope, of course, that it's via trade. Yeah, but it's so minimal, as you're saying. There's just nothing that you can get from it. It is kind of, I don't know, there's a little bit of comedy to it by the fact that healthy scratch in the Super Bowl, Josh Uche healthy scratch in the Super Bowl. Yeah, and that's kind of also the writing on the wall. You're signing a guy in Josh Uche, the Eagles did this past offseason. Yeah, who was also a healthy scratch. It's kind of like, yeah, we believe in that healthy scratch more than we do our $50+ million pass rusher that we signed from a year ago. So, it is what it is. Hey, not all of them are home run picks and signings. The luxury is the fact that not a lot of teams can either progress forward, win a Super Bowl coming off of a offseason where you did sign a pass rusher that you hoped and expected, hey, you paid him to get 7+ sacks. That was kind of the bare minimum based on what you're paying him for the contract. Didn't get any of it, but yet, you got a guy like Jalen Hunt, as you said, Nolan Smith, Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, those guys being able to show up in a way that's it's not as big of a deal. We're able to generate pressure in a different way and have those guys show up. So I think that the ultimate part for me was coming off of, yes, the Super Bowl for sure, the fact that he's healthy scratch, but then coming off the Super Bowl and beat writers not being afraid to just put it out there blatantly of Vic Fangio is not a fan of Bryce Huff. It's like you could sugarcoat it if you wanted to. It'd be like, well, he's got an uphill battle, right? You don't have to say it. He's not a fan of Bryce Huff. So that was as much as we needed. And then you go further with, like everybody sees and heard, not attending any of the workouts. I was also like, man, maybe we give him a benefit of the doubt. But it's not like a James Bradbury situation, because every time, even after JB had the terrible season, right? Like every time we heard from JB, he was a consummate professional, doing everything that he needed to, still a team player. Kudos to him for not participating really anywhere except for off the field. But you heard stories and you talk about like he's in the room, he's working with the rookies, he's helping, he's providing wisdom. We haven't gotten any of that from Bryce Huff. It's literally like hardly any side of the emotion or what he's showing on the field, not even present out there. And now we learn not at the activities at all. So, yeah, it was not a major surprise, but I think that it's blatantly obvious. If Howie Roseman were to somehow work up a magic trade, then, he just goes even that much further in our minds in terms of how great of a GM. But it's so minimal. I could definitely see it as a cut.
Yeah, and I see a lot of people saying, well, if you want to trade for Jalen Ramsey, who had a cryptic tweet yesterday, maybe the Ramsey stuff is going to happen. I doubt it, but could you lob him in with the Jalen Ramsey trade? And I would say no. You got to send, if you're really going to send him anywhere, it's got to be to a football team that has the cap space to absorb his contract, right? Because Philadelphia doesn't want to trade him and eat all his contract and then go ahead and get Jalen Ramsey, and then he wants a new contract. Like, there would have to be a football team that is willing and able to just say, you know what? We still have like $50 million in dead cap money that we're not going to spend anyway this year. We can throw $17 million this season at Bryce Huff, or maybe half that. They work a deal out, whatever it is. And then Bryce Huff tries to go ahead and revitalize his career. And make no mistake, part of this is Bryce Huff frustrated at the organization. Part of this is probably Bryce Huff reading the writing on the wall and saying, you know what? I'm not beating Jalen Hunt at training camp for reps. Jalen Hunt looks like he is going to have a really impressive year. We got to talk to him. We were at the Novacare Complex yesterday, or 2 days ago now. A friend of the show recognized us. So it was kind of funny. He was getting food, and we walked past like, Jalen, what's up? And he's like, what are you guys doing here, right? And we talked a little bit after that. But he said in his press conference that he's been working a ton on improving his pass rush moves, right? Studying the best in the game and trying to make sure that he progresses from year one to year two, because I think he saw what Nolan Smith was able to accomplish with that 1 year really just gap from his rookie season to where he was this past year. And the thing is that rookie Jalen Hunt was a lot better than rookie Nolan Smith. I mean, Nolan Smith made a massive jump in the sophomore year, but Jalen Hunt, the final probably 6 games of the NFL season, was easily one of the Eagles' best pass rushers and had an incredible Super Bowl. And so I think you could see Jalen Hunt really take that next step here in 2025. And if that's the case, I'm sure Bryce Huff already realizes I'm not going to get any reps. Azeez Ojulari is now on this football team. Josh Uche is now on this football team. Let's try and work my way out of here. Post-June first cut. Sign with a football team with less pass rushers on there and maybe try to save his NFL career.
Yeah. You're looking at the guy who, I think he was tied, if I'm not mistaken, but tied for the best pass rush win rate in the Super Bowl. So Jalen Hunt showing out, not bad for a rookie year. It's hard to not get hyped about so many different guys, but you hear Jalen Hunt, you kind of hear it in his voice, you see it, the mentality that they have, the focus. But it's like you go down every single position. It's not even like just edge. We could talk about so many different groups in this, but the reason that you see it's guys who have that extra gear or that level of hunger and want to and drive, and we saw that in Nolan Smith. It's like Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata are going to give you all the tips in the world if you have the humility to ask questions and look, I'm getting beat, but what do I need to do? And I think case in point, Nolan, Jalix mentioned that in his interview of go a whole year of, not get 4 yards close to the quarterback. So
right.
If you do that against Lane day in and day out, the beauty is that life won't be harder on game day. Like if you're going up against Lane Johnson, it will not be more difficult when you get into the game. So I think we saw a ton of that from his rookie season. I'm super hyped. The Hunter, the man himself, it was nice. It was fun to get to meet in person too, which we should have some sort of collab, little mini tease, but some sort of collab later on during the season. So stay tuned for that one.
A lot of collabs coming up. We're working on a lot of fun stuff right now. So, I mean, going to the Eagles facility kind of opens a lot of doors there. And I think Jalen Hunt, being the first actual Eagle we collab with for a charity event, has opened some doors for other Eagle players as well, one of which we met, by the way. I'm not going to say who it was, but we were hanging out with, obviously, was it Tuesday now? So Fun trip overall. Yep. Fun trip overall. I did see someone, we'll talk about the trip. I just want to keep talking about OTAs for a second. Someone did say in the chat who was the nicest person that we met. We didn't meet anyone who was not nice. I mean, everybody was extremely, Big Dom, obviously, we'll talk about him. He was great. But same with Jeff Stoutland. Nick Sirianni was extremely friendly. All the players were, I think Jordan Davis was, he was crazy friendly. He was having a lot of fun with us.
Yeah.
Cooper DeJean was very quiet. We were in the Eagles locker room, and so it wasn't like DeJean was bouncing off the walls. I don't think that's his personality either way.
Sure.
But everyone was really, really nice. There was not a single player who was like, cold shoulder. Zach Bond waved at us. He didn't come and say hi, but he still smiled, said hi, waved from afar, and it was just a fun trip overall. It was really good. Everyone there has been very, very nice to us.
Yes. Yep. It was also kind of funny too. We got to see, or we also saw Ben Van Sumeren kind of walking through. So
that's right.
Didn't catch the, hey, there's our new fullback. I was trying to say that loud. He did either that, he heard it and he didn't care, but tried to insert that one. Didn't go anywhere, but still all great with the guys. Got to see Dave Spadaro as well. He was going through the cafeteria.
Right. Right about that. He was very nice.
So it's I think the one of the big takeaways we said it was kind of a smaller, almost like a college campus feel to it. It was interesting. Like in your head, you see it from afar, you see pictures, videos, all the other stuff, and then getting there, the cafeteria was a lot closer together.
Tiny.
Like for that many players, can you imagine 90 of those? So understandable some of the things they go through. And even saw Jalen Hurts from afar, not very close up, but anyway.
Yeah, well, we weren't that far away. I saw someone say that Jalen Hurts was the only one that didn't want to talk to us. Yeah. I told the story on my show, but it's very simple.
Yes.
Dom took us back to the locker room because Dom was like, have you guys been in the locker room yet? We said no. He said, come on, I'll give you the Dom tour. And we round the corner, and probably 10 feet away is Jalen Hurts in a towel, probably about to drop it would be my guess. I think he was about to go get in the shower. And he's bending over, and then he locks eyes with me, and then he looks over at Dom, and he was just kind of like, and Dom was like, okay, let's just go. And that was it. Jalen Hurts was gone. So very clearly was not excited about us being in the locker room while he was trying to shower, which I honestly understand. But
totally,
it was funny. I bet Jalen Hurts once before, and he didn't say a word to me. He took a picture, but he is, it's just how he is. He is not going to be the guy to be like, what's up, guys? How's it going? He will, but that's not really his MO. Very, very quiet guy.
Right.
He's definitely the most quiet guy, for sure.
Yep. And Big Dom, he was like, hey, they're good. Don't worry about it. We're heading this way. Go to the equipment room. So all good. Daniel asking, how tall am I? I'm 6'3". 6'3".
Josh is very tall. He fits in well in an NFL complex, I would say. Fits in well.
And yet, until we come across Jordan Mailata. That's why I also said in my video, I was like, I've never felt so small in my entire life. The fact that, it's like we know the sizes because the depth chart, the roster, everything. But then you stand next to someone like that and you just go, my gosh, it's just you feel incredibly small. The handshake too was like I'm shaking my child's hand, but reverse. So I'm like, what in the world? But it's no wonder he's such a good left tackle. That size can move like that. It absolutely makes sense.
I was gonna say he felt way bigger than Jordan Davis, and we were Jordan Davis for an hour, and Jordan Davis was big. Jordan Davis dwarfed Nakobe Dean and really Nolan Smith, but Jordan Mailata was much bigger. And the other size thing I would say, we walked past Jihad Campbell and said hi, but he was moving in the other direction. Jihad Campbell's very big. He's much bigger than Nakobe Dean. I think overall size wise, we stood right next to Nakobe Dean, and we walked within 2 feet of Jihad Campbell. Campbell is massive. He's a big, big guy.
Yeah.
Drew Mukuba, pretty small guy. You dapped up Drew Mukuba. There's video footage of that. He is pretty small, but hopefully he plays a lot bigger, like they obviously said in all the pre-draft stuff. So,
I think he can. I think he can. But you're right. I was also like, hey, okay, yeah, this dude's. He's got that twitch though. You could tell he's got that twitch, just a little bit smaller. But I think, did you make the comment or was it somebody else going? Yeah, but imagine trying to lay a hit on AJ Brown, right? That
was me.
Would also be okay. So that would also be one where you're like, all right, we've seen it. We've seen some shots in college, but man, that's taken a little bit of the punishment himself for the size that he's at.
There you go.
I will also say, just going back to Coop real quick, because somebody else was mentioning it, just for him being quieter. I think sometimes too that and I was guilty of this myself. Seeing the players talking to them, we forget Coop is 22, so,
very young.
I try to go back as well, and my wife, right before recording this, actually showed a picture to me of me being 22 years old, and was like, "Oh, look, this was you, the same age of Coop." I'm like, that can't be accurate. That cannot be accurate. I look like a child, and I know that I felt like a child. I'm like, could you imagine being in the NFL locker room? I mean, he's welcomed it very well, or kind of, established himself, obviously, everything that he's accomplished. So I'm not saying that it's just like the uncomfortable, but there's still like that many people was not expecting to walk into the locker room with, 6 guys there being like, hey, what's up? Can we get a picture? So, he's quieter by nature anyway, but
well,
22 years old.
And the awesome Eagles Autism ladies who set this whole thing up, Eagles Autism Foundation, excuse me, brought us in, had an amazing time. So massive shout out to them. They were explaining the whole Cooper DeJean effect right now and how he went from being, second round draft pick. They're all exciting, but a second round draft pick who becomes a super. I mean, he's a superstar in Philadelphia and I think the entire National Football League. Handling that jump from being, popular Iowa player, popular draft pick, but now a real star in a big major city that just won a Super Bowl. It's a lot to handle, and he's handled it very, very well, they said, and they've been very impressed with what they've seen with Cooper DeJean so far. So, which, by the way, I see a lot of people, whenever I check out the new Exciting Mike's podcast, which just dropped today, they have Gilly on that one today.
Yeah.
I always see people saying, oh, Thomas, when are you guys going to get on that? We did not ask Cooper DeJean while we were there. I did mention, congrats on the Exciting Mike's podcast. What we should do, though, Josh, we should just have our subscribers go and comment on each of the new Exciting Mike's podcast. Y'all should have Josh and Thomas on, and then maybe enough people will do it that they will, go ahead and have us on.
That's not a bad idea.
That's not a bad idea, right? I think if we just... You'll have to spam it. Just each person leave one comment saying, you guys should have Thomas and Josh on next. Mm-hmm. And if there's 200 or 2,000 of them, then maybe they're like, okay, maybe we can have this Thomas and Josh guy on. Not a bad idea.
I don't mind that. Idea. That is a really good idea. What is it? I think Grossi does the Grossi raids, where he goes Tom Grossi and takes over channel, right? So maybe something to that effect if people want to go and... We don't want to spam it too much, though, because then they're like, who in the world are these people, because they're getting all these comments. But it's not the worst idea. If we get some attention
Not the worst
that,
idea.
So.
Not the worst idea. There you go.
Christopher with a 5, saw the super chat. Appreciate that, Christopher. Says, I believe we're going to need to trade for a proven pass rusher. Nolen coming off injury and small sample size of success, as well as Hunt. Get it done, Howie.
Yeah, I don't think so. And this is obviously probably geared at the Bengals pass rusher, Trey Hendrickson, because they're in a big stalemate right now. And, are they going to re-sign him to a contract extension? Are they going to trade him? I think Trey Hendrickson's too expensive, and the contract that he wants would be over $30 million. It's a lot of money. And Josh and I are obviously a little biased, but we think Nolan Smith's going to be very good. We think Jalen Hunt is going to be very good. And I do think that either Ojulari or Uche could potentially be that next, kind of mix-up pass rusher. And if both of them hit, then you have 4 pass rushers. But if, one of them hits, so you have 3 good pass rushers, that's not a bad overall number. And I do think the Vanilla Gorilla is going to give you something this year. I don't know if it's going to be crazy. Maybe not rookie Jalen Carter the first 12 games.
Yes.
I think he's going to give you a little pass rush mojo from the inside as well, and he can line up on the outside. So I don't see them needing an edge rusher. But as I say all the time here, Josh, and you know this as well, you're going to get to training camp. And they're obviously evaluating right now during OTAs, but it's very, very limited because no pads, very little 11-on-11s. Like it's very vanilla, right? When you get to training camp, those first couple of weeks, Vic Fangio is going to tell Howie Roseman if he needs another pass rusher. It's the exact same thing that happened when they wanted to see Gardner-Johnson at the end of that training camp. Wasn't Vic Fangio, but they knew what we have in front of us is not good enough. Let's go trade for Gardner-Johnson. If they feel like they need an extra edge rusher or any position for that matter, Justin Simmons, for instance, they would go ahead and do that during training camp. But I really think Jalen Hunt is going to be pretty crazy. I think Jalen Hunt and Nolan Smith are going to combine probably for 20 sacks, whether that's 13 and 7, 10 and 10.
Let's
20
go.
Feels like a legit number right now for both of them. I'd be surprised if it's anything dramatically less. Maybe it's 17, but if it's 10 between the two, I'd be very surprised.
I wouldn't disagree with that. Yeah, because you're going to have. In my mind, I'm thinking even if you're going to do the rotation, which, the Eagles have done for forever, so you're going to have some guys rotating it, but it's like 40-ish snaps a game for Nolan and for Jalen each, right? So then if you're looking at it from about that numbers standpoint, then it's 20-ish, 20 to 25 snaps from both edges that you have to play, guys. Azeez Ojulari, I think that very much could be 15 to 20 snaps already just on that one end. And then you have Josh Uche. If you have somebody else that you're playing on the outside, whether it's a Patrick Johnson, whether it's an Antoine Powell Ryland, whether it's a who's the other one? I'm drawing a blank on the other. KJ Harris, I guess, is still on the roster. So whoever gets that spot and wins out, I don't know that you necessarily. I mean, Christopher, I get it from a like, okay, hey, we're working with a lot of youth here. You got the injury. Totally makes sense from the points that you brought up. But, I mean, Howie even said it back before with Hassan Reddick, right? There was a reason why it's like, well, we can't get this contract to work. We kind of need to help the locker room vibes get better. The selfishness needs to go so we can have the selflessness. And you started seeing it's like the only way that happens is if those guys are getting on the field. So if it's you say proven pass rusher, I think if anything, if it's like, hey, Howie, go out and make a trade, it's for a guy who's of the similar ilk of like a Josh Uche or Aziz Ojulari, like a little bit of success, but not one of those that comes in and goes, oh, that's your starter on one edge. Nolan Smith and Jalen Hunt are the future, at least for this season. I mean, they're the guys. So I think that they're going to roll with that. And then I'm with you on Ty Robinson also. Dude looks pretty good.
Never know.
People have said you play 6 years in college. It makes sense. You're a little bit more NFL ready, I guess, to make an impact from day one. But yeah, him next to Moro Ojomo and Jalen Carter.
Forget about Moro Ojomo. Yeah.
Should be pretty salty. JD, obviously.
Could be pretty. Yep. I think Jordan Davis looked the most fit that he's been. And everyone says that this time of year. I mean, every single season, the past like 3, this is the most fit Jordan Davis we've seen. Jordan Davis was in a hoodie, but he looked pretty darn good whenever we hung out with him. He looks like he is 100% going to be in the best shape that he has been all offseason long, or really all throughout his entire career. And he was pretty good last year. We talked about conditioning a lot towards the end of the 2023 season. Very little talk about conditioning at the end of the 2024 campaign. If he can go ahead and just take that next 10% step, that next little movement forward, Jordan Davis could be more of a threat to be, not a 10-sack guy, not a 7-sack guy. 5, 6 sacks here and there would not be a bad thing for a guy who's supposed to just simply be stopping the run. So they look good. I mean, they all look good. And I saw a comment asking about the linebackers and Cooper DeJean. Dean obviously said he could be cleared within a month and a half, so he was saying right around the first week of training camp. Will he actually be 100%? I would say no. And he did say the goal is week 1, but he's not going to rush it because it's a contract year, and he was explaining to us, as we know, you don't want to rush your way back and then immediately get hurt. It'd be much better for Nakobe Dean to come back week 6, for instance, and be 100% healthy than week 1 and be 90% healthy. And so my guess is right now, Josh, Dean will not go week 1. He'll go a lot sooner than we think because some people thought December. I think Jeremiah Trotter Jr. and then obviously Zach Bonner are going to be your 2 starters for night 1, Thursday evening versus the Dallas Cowboys, if I had to bet right now, because I don't think Campbell's going to be ready either.
Yeah, that's the one I'm not sure about with the shoulder. I mean, and I don't think this is a surprise to go off. Is that if Jahad Campbell were to be healthy enough, I think that the Eagles in their mind, and Vic Fangio, I mean, there's a reason you draft him right there, is they want Jahad Campbell to be the guy, but it's a similar instance of, I mean, heck, we could say Cooper DeJean, knowing how good he is now. Yeah. If he was healthy, like you could never envision him being like, oh, he's not going to start for the first 5 weeks of the season. But he was coming off of the injury. So Fangio is very methodical. It's how it's like, yes, eventually you need to be thrown out there and prove it. But you got to get acclimated to the defense. You got to figure out the scheme, the system, be comfortable in it to a certain extent, and then you'll be ready. So I'm with you also. Yeah. I would love to see it. I expect it likewise of the pup list for Nakobe. I mean, just to be able to get back, like let's be honest, even if it is till the middle of the season, if he can get to whatever we phrase or say is 100% Nakobe before the injury, that in itself is an absolute win. Even if it takes later than what we're anticipating, or into the latter portion of the season, almost close to the playoffs, that in itself, because it's an excruciating injury. But I mean, he was confident, man. Like he had the quiet strength he's talked about. He's like, oh yeah, he's like, we're getting there. He's like, we're getting better, rehab, everything. So I love to see it. And then hey, it's not a bad problem to have, I suppose. If you're going like, all right, so we got Nakobe back and he's good. Zach Bond, obviously, Jahad Campbell. Where do we play with these guys? Do we rotate it? Different formations? Heck, Cooper DeJean, which we haven't really fully got into yet. I know we were eventually. Cooper DeJean, is he playing slot? Is he playing on the outside? So there's just a lot of versatility, a lot of playmakers, guys with that versatile mindset, which is what Fangio obviously loves. But several reasons to like those. I will say that.
Yeah, I totally agree. And one more thought on Nakobe Dean here, real quick. He likely understands that he is playing for a new contract on a different football team because they did draft Jahad Campbell. And whether or not Dean balls out, if he has a Pro Bowl caliber season this year, then maybe Philadelphia has to keep him just by default. But they did draft his replacement, and so he likely understands that if he balls out this year, even if it's just for 15 games or 12 games or whatever it is, he can get a big contract somewhere else, and then Jahad Campbell assumes that position alongside Zach Bond. So again, plenty of things can change, plenty of things can happen, but that's likely the kind of writing on the wall right now for Dean.
Yep. Zachary with a 2, getting some of these super chats too. Appreciate you guys as always. Which, by the way, we've said this in our videos, but just to reiterate again, we can't thank you guys enough for the support, for the super chats, but just for the subscribing and I mean, making the channels what they are, because without you guys, it's a given, but without you guys, there's no way that the Novacare visit, the recognized by the Eagles and other players and members of the organization, all that, Big Dom wouldn't have put on his radar either. So I said it in the last video as well, but again, thank you guys. Can't thank you
100%.
enough. Zach here says, I just feel like something is missing on the team. Does not say what, but just feels like something is missing on the team. So
I don't feel that way.
Trade, maybe a potential area.
Yeah, I mean, safety would be the one, but you have 2 young safeties in Sidney Brown and Drew Mukuba. You got to know what you have, right? You can't spend high draft picks on these 2 guys and give up on them just because you need Justin Simmons for a year. I think they really need to make sure that those 2 are not the answer, or in Mukuba's case, he's not ready to go week 1 before you made a move. But everywhere else to me is good. Keely Ringo, Dory Jackson, we'll talk about that. DeJean obviously lurking. And then the offense has no holes. The offense is ready to roll. Maybe you want to back up tight end, but at least get Calcaterra for one more season. I just don't see a hole, honestly. I really don't see a hole in this football team.
Yeah, I'm similar. I mean, look at some injuries because of the guys there and say, well, if you have some, or if guys are slow to come back, but ultimately there's like, I am borderline because I don't want to go overboard here. And I've seen some comments and I totally get it, because there's some that are on the spectrum of like, oh, it's absolutely 100% running back. There's a few, not a lot, but a few. They're like, I get it, but there's a couple changes. There's a couple areas now we need guys to step up. Like, it may not be what it was. There's a more difficult schedule. So all things being what they are, it's just difficult, like you're saying, because you have 10 or 11 guys on offense. Right guard, I'm confident in Tyler Steen. So, you just kind of out of the back of your mind. And this is all under the assumption, because it is every year, like as long as you're staying healthy. That could totally change any team. But then defense, I mean, it's just what we saw. You have the best positional coaches, I believe, in the NFL combined with Vic Fangio. Like, we call it what it is. It will be difficult. Not impossible, but it will be difficult when Christian Parker leaves. And I believe this is his last season, because he had a lot of hype last season to be a defensive coordinator. If he goes another season now of having a top 10 defense, top 5 defense, there's going to be multiple teams going, yep, we're going to try to take you. Clint Hurt possibly to get another chance at being a defensive coordinator, who's the D-line coach. Bobby King has done a phenomenal job with the linebackers.
He's going to get poached.
You got other opportunities for him. So, we're enjoying it for what it is right now. But the youth, I get it because we haven't seen it, but we saw it last season, what they were able to do. I think that these guys are going to be able to get them ready. So I'm not as much, and I get it because I've seen those, but Zachary's comment of feel like something's missing, not a whole lot. I mean, we just need guys to step up, but I think they're on this group and nothing major for a trade or acquisition. Christopher with a 5, a couple other super chats here, says, to clarify, go back to the comment about getting a bona fide pass rusher. I have faith in the guys in-house and the guys we brought in, but you have to have that guy on the edge who can close besides Carter. Go Birds.
Yeah. I mean, I think Nolan Smith and Jalen Hunt closed pretty well in the Super Bowl, and obviously, not really in the Super Bowl, but obviously in the NFC title game and the divisional round as well. I think they have those guys. I think year 3 Nolan Smith's going to be pretty darn good. I think we're going to finish 2025 and be like, yeah, Nolan's the best edge rusher on this team, and he's probably one of the better edge rushers in the National Football League. He's not going to be, Myles Garrett, but I do think he's going to be very good.
Yeah. Christopher, I appreciate the clarification, but honestly, as I'm reading it here, it feels like a little bit of you say I have faith in the guys in house, but then we need that guy on the edge. So there's like a fine line of faith. There's a little bit of faith, but there's not a full blown faith in like a starting edge. That just doesn't feel like there's complete faith. Totally entitled to your own opinion, by the way, but we're gonna have to agree to disagree there. You can hear what we're saying with Jalen Hunt and Nolan Smith. Those are the guys. Like they it's a small sample size. I do understand that argument. It's a small sample size, but again, you got to understand it's a small sample size of a Super Bowl run. Like, these guys continue to show up day in and day out, and it's not really like it's not a lack of mentality or focus. I know that there's coming off of injury, and sure, that always plays a factor, but we've seen guys before, and mainly with Nolan's, because we're talking about the torn triceps injury, that's not as difficult of one to come back and be, oh man, he's like really missing a step, right? Because Nakobe's, that's totally fair. Nakobe could take a while. Hopefully not. Prayers for him to recover and be back to 100%. But that one could. But a triceps injury, I mean, heck, BG came back too quick, quite honestly, but he was able to make it to play in the Super Bowl and still getting pressures on that side. So I think that's not as big of a concern. Nolan was certainly not concerned about it as we're talking and asking him. So
he seemed totally fine.
He should be all right.
Yeah.
Marcus with a 5. Speaking of Nolan, says we all know Josh claimed Nolan Smith super early ahead of almost everyone. Thank you, sir. And his love for him only grew. Who is your new Nolan Smith in the roster?
I mean, Jalen Hunt's the easy answer here, but Jalen's already kind of proved it. Josh jumped on the Nolan hype train before Nolan did anything, right? I mean, this was like
he was a rookie, So I guess with the parameters there, we got to pick a rookie from this year's. Who would be the rookie from this year's class? I mean, Jahad Campbell feels like the easy answer. Technically, though, he's drafted in the similar position of Nolan Smith, so like. Yeah, it's not necessarily cheating to say Jahad Campbell.
But Mukuba. I think Mukuba, because a lot of people doubted that draft pick. A lot of people thought it was a stretch. Yeah, they think he's too small. They, all this sort of stuff. So I think if you want to buy into somebody early and maybe get the same Nolan Smith returns, Mukuba could be that guy. And Mukuba could start week 1. I mean, I don't think he will. I think a lot of us believe Sidney Brown's going to lock that down. But that's going to be a wide open battle for all 4 or 5 weeks of training camp. And so Mukuba could be the one that wins that battle. And, you got a rookie back there trying to hold on.
We shall see. I like that, though. I like Drew. That's a fair comparison. Because like I say, it does feel like a little bit of cheating. If you just say, like if you said Jahad Campbell, what, 95% of people are going to, well, duh. Like there's belief in Jahad Campbell. Look at the hype and everything of what people are talking about. So a little bit of a difference. But I can appreciate that. That's probably a good comparison. I don't know personally, and I'll just say this because I've been I hope the world. I told Drew whenever we said hey to him, I was like, hey, good luck, rooting for you. We're all doing that, but there was the element even on draft night, so I'm not going to hide from it. But whenever there was the selection there, I was like, look, because we don't know health wise, but Kevin Winston Jr. when he was available, I would have gone in that direction before. I'm very glad, or I will be very glad to be proven wrong. So I'm not saying that he can't, but yeah, I don't know personally if I've got another Nolan Smith yet. And maybe I won't. Maybe I won't have another. Nolan. I mean, it's Nolan Smith. Like that was my guy. So, who was the other? Oh, okay. Here's this. Oh, I missed this one. No. Okay, sorry. It was just scrolling down. CJ with the 50 bomb. Let's go. CJ with a 50.
There you go, CJ.
Put one too many zeros on there. We appreciate that. Okay. Says, who do y'all think will have more? This is good. We're just staying on these topics here. I love it.
Yeah.
Hunt and Nolan Smith, Jalen Hunt, Nolan Smith, more sacks, or Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, more picks. Okay, that's kind of easy. Also, who's an underrated player to watch for this year? Love the vids. Keep it up.
Well, thank you, first off. I mean, a lot of good questions there. I think you have to pick Nolan Smith to get more sacks, but I'm very much in Jalen Hunt's corner. Like, if Josh can claim Nolan Smith, I'm not going to say I claim Jalen Hunt the same way because Jalen was really good, I think, earlier than Nolan Smith was. So a lot of us have jumped on the Jalen Hunt hype train. But I do think that Jalen Hunt is going to be very dangerous this year. And if he's serious, what he said on Wednesday about studying pass rushers and really trying to take that next step, he was a wrecking ball in the Super Bowl. I mean, he was crazy good in the Super Bowl. Even when Nolan Smith left with a tricep injury, he was getting sacks. And so I think both of them, as I said, 20 sacks combined. Anything over that is like a super crazy year. Anything crazy under that would be a disappointment. But I'll say Nolan Smith for now, and I think Josh would agree. Picks-wise, I think it's going to be Cooper DeJean. And that should lead us into the Cooper DeJean discussion in a second before we finish answering his question. I would say Cooper DeJean. And then an underrated player to watch, I think Will Shipley. Will Shipley caught a lot of passes at OTAs the past couple of days. Obviously, he's the number 2 now with Saquon Barkley. I think he's got something, and he's going to get chances. I know A.J. Dillon is another name that you could throw out there, But the Eagles don't have a lot invested in A.J. Dillon. They have a lot invested in, not a lot, but they have a draft pick, I guess, invested in Will Shipley. I'm very interested in him. We actually saw him. We were about 5 feet away from Will Shipley for about 5 seconds, but we did see him. And so I'd be very interested to see what Will Shipley does as training camp gets going in, a little less than 2 months.
There we go. I like that. I would agree. Nolan Smith. And probably also with Coop as well. I think the Coop is in better positions to make plays. We saw how many times Q was just locked down where quarterbacks aren't even really throwing his direction. So I don't know. This is maybe not the way that it was asked. It says which was more Hunt and Smith more sacks or Coop and Quinion more picks. I don't think that was like sacks versus picks. If it was, it's blatantly obvious. That's why I don't think that it was. Because
I see.
you're not going to have. You could have 10 sacks and that would be a bad sack or not a great sack number, but like 10 picks is insane. So I think that was for each individual the way that we answered it. So just to make sure, and then underrated player. Man, there's a lot of those there. I might.
There's a lot
to change it up a little bit. I might say Moro Jomo. He was right up there, Jalen Hunt, in terms of win rate, pressure, and pass rush win rate at the Super Bowl. So I think that he's going to surprise some people. Maybe not a lot because Big Mo's gotten more hype as time's gone on, certainly within the playoff run. Yeah. But we saw what happened to Milton Williams. I'm going to be keeping my eye on in New England, by the way, too, just seeing hey, wish him luck as long as they're not playing the Eagles. Life is a whole lot easier playing right next to Jalen Carter. So I'll put Big Jomo over there.
Yep. I think that's totally fair. Totally fair.
There we go. There was one other question. It wasn't a super chat, but I was going to bring it up here too. James was asking Thomas and Josh, if you could play any position on the Eagles, what would it be?
On the Eagles? Don't think they'd want us to. They'd definitely pick Josh over me.
Backup long snapper?
Just get
paid and sit back there?
That's not a bad idea. I don't even know.
Out.
I didn't play high school football, so I was way too small to play high school football. I played all the way up to middle school, but I did not play high school. So I was a quarterback back then, but it's been a while, so I don't think they want me doing that.
There's no position. Like, I know that some people are like, oh, bro, like, we need you as your, and jokingly, of course, but still, even the fact that it's being 6'3", like, okay, cool, but it doesn't help in any sort of football. Like, I played at a very small school, and even playing quarterback is not like, there's zero that translates, basically. So I would have to be a backup that never gets seen, never plays. I could be a hype man. I could be on the sidelines. I could do that. But if you want me out there, we're going to get somebody killed, and we're going to lose games because I'm going to make mistakes. So,
someone said Thomas is a kicker. Yeah. I'm built like one. Definitely built like a kicker. That's for sure.
Just maybe, I don't know. I don't know what a good position would be, but it's an interesting question. If I could choose it and I had talent and ability, I think I'd want to be out there as like a receiver. But I don't have the speed. I can't, get out of a break or anything like that. That'd be meaningless. Jalen wouldn't throw to me anyway, but I definitely would not get thrown to.
Not at all.
All right, we're moving on to, I think the Cooper DeJean was what we're talking about a little bit, because multiple positions. Speaking of, we have no versatility. We have none ability out there. But Cooper DeJean,
good point.
Come on now.
Well, and it's a two-sided story because Adoree Jackson needs to be fit in here as well, Josh, because Adoree Jackson got the start over Keely Ringo, which people, I think it's news. We'll see if it continues on Friday and into next week. But, the simple answer is Devin White started at linebacker all offseason long and then got injured, in came Kobe Dean, and the rest was history, and Devin White was, gone before the end of the season. So take that with a grain of salt. And I think that the Cooper DeJean thing ties in with playing on the outside. We forget, though, they did technically give Cooper DeJean some reps at the outside in OTAs last year. I went back and looked, and there were tweets that he got a couple of reps. And it's not like Cooper DeJean got all the reps, on the outside. Base defense, he was the starter at the Wednesday practice. Whether that was the case at Tuesday or not, we don't know. We didn't get to see 11 on 11s whenever we were there. But I think that they understand that Cooper DeJean is a weapon, and they want to make sure he plays as many snaps as humanly possible. And if he's a nickel corner, he can't be out there for base defense, right? That's the one knock, is that he would need to come off the football field when you're in your base defense. And Philadelphia doesn't run a lot of base defense with Vic Fangio, but every team does. And so they might simply be wanting just to see what he can do because they want him to be out there as much as possible because he is so good. or it's just a backup plan in case, let's say Ringo wins the job, Adoree Jackson doesn't, he could get cut. That's a very real possibility based on his contract. They need a backup there, and it'd be DeJean to go ahead and be the first backup, and then, McWilliams comes in as the nickel guy. I don't want to read into DeJean getting outside snaps too much. It would take a couple of weeks of training camp of him being like the starter in nickel defense on the outside, not just base defense, to move the needle for me, because I do think that DeJean is perfectly fit to be the nickel because he tackles so well in space. And as a corner, you're not presented with a ton of opportunities to make open field tackles. You get the chance, and a lot of times we would rip Darius Slay when he would whiff on tackles because he wasn't that good at tackling, but I don't view the Cooper DeJean news as that big. I think it's interesting, and we'll keep an eye on it, but I'd be surprised if he's the starting outside cornerback with Quinyon Mitchell week 1 in anything but maybe some base defense looks, He'll be the nickel guy, and I think the Super Bowl pick is a great example why, because he can kind of rove around and hover around and, be a playmaker, because that's what he is.
Yeah, I think it would be, maybe a mistake is a little bit too harsh, because if Vic Fangio and the guys decide that that's the right direction, then, I'm going to trust their decision. But I'm right there with you. Coop needs to be the slot. Long term, I could understand it. I know that he answered it beautifully, like a vet should in a press conference when asked, do you have a preference on the outside? Do you have a preference on the slot? Contracts are very different. So if you want to get paid money, you can play on the outside. But Coop's like, hey, do whatever the team needs, be selfless, all that other stuff. That's great. I'm 100% with you, though, because you look at the ability that he has on the inside and his tackling, like you said, and the fact that the injuries are what they are. We don't know if Nakobe Dean's going to be ready for week 1, as we were talking about. We don't know about John Campbell. Those are probably later into the season. And so, hey, all the hope in the world for Jeremiah Trotter Jr., but much like we saw when Oren Burks came in there, Oren Burks was solid, but in terms of coverage, one of the reasons that he was better was because of Cooper DeJean playing as well as he was, because on the inside it's a little bit more clustered, and Coop's able to help offset that. So much in the same way, I don't necessarily want to, we got a lot of new guys in the middle of the field. I don't want to take Coop out of that middle of the field, because we're talking about Drew Mukuba most likely, right? So if there's one, and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. in the middle of the field, and a potential for a Mac. There's some PTSD from 2023, 2024 of what happened in the middle of the field. I don't want to take one of my best players on defense, as great as he is, I think, of talent and ability. Sure, he could probably figure out outside and probably be pretty good at it. But I would say at least for one more season, let's keep him there at slot. It's a heavily underrated position. Just for one, because of what offenses try to do and how they throw over the middle of the football field. But let's just go one more year. Then hey, next offseason, next OTAs, Coop, you can be outside. You could play the entire time out there. Mac Williams, you can slide in. We got the slot covered. Linebackers hopefully healthy. But I'm stick with what they got for right now.
I think so. Yep, I totally agree.
Garrett with a 5. Appreciate that. Says, all right, guys, now that you're tight with our Philly dogs, when are we going to get an interview with them? Spill the beans.
We actually didn't talk about that. Fun fact. We've mentioned it, and we've talked to Nolan's team about it, and it's definitely going to happen. But we didn't really bring up, when are you guys going to come on our show when we hung out with them? Now, Nolan was telling them all about it. We have YouTube channels, and you watch our YouTube channels, and we do a great job, and so they all understand that. But we really talked about going into the whole Novacare thing, not trying to be like, I don't know, pitching our show to everybody that we came across, right? Nick Sirianni walked in. It wasn't like, hey, Nick, you're to come on our show. It just didn't feel like the right, place and time. Now, Nolan Smith's going to come on. That's basically a guarantee. And I think we're going to be able to get Big Dom on eventually, because I think Big Dom was a huge highlight for us at the Novacare Complex, knew who we were, watched the show, was extremely generous to us in terms of his time. And so it's going to happen. The problem is right now, and Josh will echo this, is they're so OTA focused. We have to wait till they get away from football for that, month and a half post June 10th until July 24th or whatever the day is. That's the window to really get these interviews, because that's when we had them all last year, because they're still training and they're, in and out of the Novacare Complex, but they're definitely away from football. When you get to training camp, though, it gets a lot more difficult, and the season is tough, too. And so we're going to get our window starting in about 2.5 weeks, I would say.
Yes. Yep. And we should be at training camp, which we've gotten the confirmation on.
We have gotten that.
If we would like to go, which is totally legit.
Yes.
Again, shout out to Big Dom and the Eagles.
Big Dom taking care of us.
So that's pretty legit. All I guess we could. I mean, we might as well. I don't know if we have any other direction, but go through a couple of the pictures and the video clips. Most people have seen them by now, but it's kind of more of a live reliving the experience. Lexter, by the way, shout out to you. Welcome to Let's Run It tier. So membership there. Congrats. I guess we'll just start. This makes it easier because I posted the thread, so we can just go based off of that. So to begin with, we just went with a Cooper DeJean picture, because we had to get one of those.
There you go.
Coop was kind enough to stop by, give us a photo, even though he was in the middle of eating lunch.
Yes, which, by the way, there's a lot more photos that the Eagles took, and they're sending to us. So, we literally have, one or two pictures, and then, all these little, short video clips that we put on our shows. But we're going to have, all the pics of us with Sirianni and Big Dom and everyone there. So, we haven't gotten them yet. They're coming via Dropbox is what we were promised. So, hopefully soon.
Which we will post. We will share. So, Aiden, it's also a very good point here with the 10. Says, can't imagine if y'all just recruited for your shows the whole time. LOL. I'm sure
ridiculous.
You wouldn't be welcome back.
They would never want us
be
there.
Like, who
never
are these
want us
guys?
There. Yes.
You
the
gotta
whole
be kidding
goal,
me.
honestly, going into it was to be as cool as possible because, you sit down and you have ice cream with the Philly dogs. You know that they technically would rather do other things. They're very nice. They're very generous. But Eagle players would rather be doing anything else than meeting more fans. That's all they do. And Cooper DeJean talked about what it's like going out in Philadelphia. It's very hard to even be invisible because people, who you are. Come get a picture. So our goal going in, and I think everyone who came, JD, Corey, obviously Gary, was everyone, and Danny, everyone's very cool. We just tried to just hang out and not be annoying. And that was mission one. And obviously, if you're pitching your show the entire time, then, you're not being cool and you're being kind of annoying. So, yes, that was the thought process going in. I think we accomplished that.
Yes. Yep, I would say so. Did I, what I just realized? I think, where's Danny in this photo?
Is he not in the photo?
Did he not? I could have sworn he was right there, wasn't he?
I could have sworn he was.
Taking the picture, wasn't he? Or
wow,
did he take the picture of Coop?
That's Moro Jomo walking away, by the way, off Gary's shoulder. But that's a great point. Where is Danny? Danny was also one of the subscribers who got to go with us. Fantastic time. But
did he take the picture?
No, because Big Dom took it.
That's what I was going to say. Big Dom took our picture for sure, but I thought he took the Coop picture also.
I don't know where he was. Don't know where he was. Yeah.
That's wild.
Very interesting. That's a great point. He was there. We had 6 of us.
Danny, if you're watching, man, I apologize.
Sorry.
I saw that picture. I was like, oh, hey, there's the group. And
yeah, I did too.
I mean, I shared the other one in the video of all of us. So there is a different one. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. That's amazing.
C. Kramer Corey just said Dom didn't take it. So
okay, see, that's
Danny
what
took the photo then.
Okay.
I sworn it was Big Dom. But I guess Dom took the other photo of all of us together like you just said.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Shout out to Danny.
All right.
One of the
Thanks,
MVPs
Danny.
of the day for all the footage.
We appreciate it.
There is another one that I posted on the others. And I think we posted both. So it's not like there's no proof of him, but
he was there.
Yes. Novacare Complex, little B-roll footage. I think you got that one there. So shout out to you.
Again, it's smaller than it looks, right? If you've never been there, right next to the Linc, I mean, it's like the street over. And Josh and I have been to other football facilities. I've been to the Carolina Panthers training camp. That was at Wofford College, which obviously was pretty small. But the Baylor football facility is bigger. The Baylor football facility as a whole is bigger.
Yeah.
And Baylor is not a big. I mean, imagine what the Alabama facility looks like. It's not necessarily as big as you would think, and it's not a bad thing. It's just surprising, right? It's like, okay, here's the hallway, and then it's the cafeteria, and then it's the field, and then there's a couple of small meeting rooms over here, and there's a giant gym over here, and that's it. I mean, that's basically Novacare Complex. So it was very surprising. And the Super Bowl trophies and NFC title game trophies are there too. But yeah, it was surprising how intimate it was. But it was cool to see.
Definitely. No doubt. Got the pictures, dog mentality, getting some illegal footage, right? Because this is not technically allowed to film OTAs, but it's for 3 seconds. So,
3 seconds. That was the only
really
time
cares
that we did anything. Yes.
But I've always found that, I know it's been for a while. I just always found that strange because you see the Cleveland Browns and the LA Rams just posting anything and everything to watch whatever you want for training camp or for OTAs and for training camp. And no, there's do not film anything.
That's fine. So that was it. 3 seconds. That's the only
quick glimpse.
But we could see them out there. They were out there.
Yep. This was Danny getting us kind of checking out the field. For the life of me, I can't recall what I was looking at or what Corey was saying to me at that moment. It may have been like that he'd been there in the past or something or
I don't
the
know.
group.
I don't know.
I don't know. But yeah, but good facial expression, I suppose. It was cool just to be there. So
yeah, that's right.
Also the auditorium. People have seen this in many different clips, but
Many clips,
the rookie sing competition and the free throw challenge or game of horse that Sirianni likes to play quite often. So
also the press conference room too. They don't have a separate one like some people do, and it's very small. I mean, imagine 90 people in that room. I mean, it is completely full. It is not a big room at all.
Yeah, much smaller in person than I thought. Memories on the wall. SB says it looked so different with a hat on. Well, yeah, I guess I never wear a hat for the show.
That's true. That's true. Memorabilia is cool. They had tweets from famous people on the wall when the Eagles would win something big, and it's like, okay, need to get Josh Davis tweets up there, right? Come on, one of these days, got to get him on the memorabilia wall.
Oh no. Well, we maybe now, right? Because we know that they're doing it. So just post it out there, put something, and tag the Eagles or the Eagles Autism Foundation. Be like, hey, here's a tweet. Seeing some of the guys, Nolen walking in, that was cool. One of the and this was again like the more like intimate setting. It's a smaller campus. Everyone basically knows what's going on in the building, which I thought was cool. The luxury of that was like you see in this footage here, and this was a number of different people, but like Jeff Stoutland just comes walking down the hallway because you hear some commotion in one room, and you walk over and hey, what's going on? Is someone having a birthday here?
Is.
So. That felt like, every 5-10 minutes you'd hear someone walking down the hallway and you're like, who's this going to be? Who's going to be walking through the doors there?
And Stout was very nice. For as much as he supposedly yells at players, I mean, he was extremely nice. Very, very cool to meet the legend of Jeff Stoutland.
Yes. Yep. Kramer, where was Corey where was Troy Vincent? I don't think that's a guy who's going to be.
Don't think so.
There very often,
Don't think that they're a fan.
I have a source that will not be named, but a source who very blatantly said that he will not be in the building, maybe ever again. So,
don't vote against the tush push.
Nope.
That's all you gotta say.
Nope. Don't reprimand Jeffrey Lurie and don't vote against it.
Do not do it.
There's the chat with the Philly Dogs in the conference room. Did you? They may have said this, and I didn't recall. Did you remember what the conference room there was? It specific for something that they use it for? I mean, it's got the full setup.
I think it's just like a staff conference room. Yeah, they didn't say, but a lot of their meetings are there. A lot of people can meet in that conference room. We did not see Sirianni's office, Roseman's office, or the draft room. Those are all three things that we did not get to see, which I was a little bummed. I wanted to see the draft room, and Sirianni's office would have been pretty cool as well, but I'm sure he was probably in there working after later on. But those are the places we did not go.
Maybe next time. Ask
we'll ask
Big Dom for the tour. Get one. There's the merch, by the way, getting some B-roll of the merch being signed. So, of course,
proof of signing.
Subscribe. Make sure you're on. Yeah, we got a lot
of stuff going
giveaways.
On. I got a pile of stuff. So, yeah.
It just kept coming. We're like, all right, hey, just the more the better. There's Sirianni as well coming in.
Brief. He was the shortest. We had very little time with Nick Sirianni, but he was very, very cool. And it was surprising because we did not expect to see Nick Sirianni. He walked in. It was like, Coach, what are you doing? And then Josh tried to challenge him into a game of horse, which he wasn't really buying, and then that was basically it. So, yeah. Very
He's
short.
Like, all right, thanks for coming, guys. I'm out of here.
Yep. That was it.
I felt like
nice thing to do, though.
Competitive as he is, I felt like we got to do something that maybe he remembers us there. So it's not just going to be like, hey, good to meet you, and like maybe a challenge. He still probably won't remember it, but there's Mailata.
Very brief, too. He was just passing, but he was pretty funny. Cracked some jokes, which we're not going to repeat because he was it was a little it was pretty fun. I'm glad we didn't get that on camera, so we protected it, but it was very funny.
Very on brand.
And again, massive and very fun. You see Jordan Mailata, he's this jovial guy, and that's exactly what he was.
Yes. Yep. Very on brand for Jordan. I think that everyone, quite honestly, that we met was like, because sometimes you wonder, but it's what you see is what you get. And
100%.
I think that was just about everybody that we met there. So Jalen, of course, meeting him in person.
And Jalen was the only one besides Nolen who knew who we were. And I got asked that all the time. Like, do they know who you are? And most of them don't. Most Eagle players are not watching news updates on something that they obviously know. But Jalen knows who we are because we worked with him. And we walk out of our conference room and it's like, Jalen, what's up? And you could see him be like, whoa, like what are y'all doing here? He's kind of surprised, and he's like,
Yeah.
what's up, guys? So he obviously knew who we were and said, appreciated us doing the little charity joint thing during, what was it, November last year. So definitely partnering again. It was very fun. Jokes is a great guy.
Oh, heck yeah. Yep. Love the partnership there. There's Drew Mukuba, obviously. He was walking into the locker room, I think, coming back from lunch, so I had to say hey and wish him well for this season. So there you go.
Yep.
It's hard to tell, about a player based on a quick video on that side, but just for people that were asking about, is he bigger or smaller in person than what envisioned? Like we were saying earlier, I think maybe a little bit smaller than what I was thinking, but that was kind of the knock, I guess, beginning even whenever the draft came out. So there's Coop. We already posted that one picture, but there's the video clip.
There he is
for a second. And then probably the highlight of the whole experience, quite honestly. I mean, love talking to players. Everything else, did not expect to meet Big Dom nor become best friends or seemingly best friends, but pretty legit.
Yeah, and we just didn't know why he wanted to talk to us because he came in at the beginning and then he said he wanted bring them to the office when you're done. He brought us in the office and he has this little tiny corner room. We got a brief video in there, packed full of memorabilia. All his stuff, his newly signed Trump hat and his all the autographed footballs. I mean, he has everything in there. And he was like, "Hey, I saw y'all's stuff whenever you defended me 2 seasons ago, which is crazy. We were very small channels back then." During the Dre Greenlaw incident that made him famous. He said, I appreciate what y'all did. The NFL is after me and y'all defended me. And then he was just talking for a second. I thought we were going to leave. And he basically was like, have y'all been in the locker room? We're like, no, because, the Eagles Foundation was kind of like, there's players in there. We're not going to take you back there. And he's like, come on, let's go. And he pulled us away from the Eagles Foundation ladies and off we went. And so that's when the fun began. It was very, very fun.
Yep. And he was not in the office initially, so I was figuring that was the only clip we were going to get or any, experience of seeing where Big Dom works. So I was going to get a picture, and then lo and behold, we got hey, let's go back to the office. So got the VIP tour, and there you see, walking down the hallway.
There you go.
Go straight to the equipment room, and essentially tossed every bit of merch that he could possibly find. So that was not on the bingo card for the Novacare Complex visit.
Well, and you understand that they have a ton of gear, right? I mean, come on, it's the Eagles, and so seeing all the walls of cleats and stuff, and he walked right up to this giant, bin. You see him, in one of these videos, telling me to go climb up there and pick out shirts. He's throwing larges and extra larges, and I was like, I'm a medium, and then sure enough, he's like, well, get as many as you want, and so I have. I mean, this is one, right? I got like this in every single color, and I got a couple more over here. I probably have like 7 medium T-shirts, which is just fun because I normally buy one of these like Nike Dry Fits, the new version every year, and now I have like 8 of them, so I don't need to go buy one anytime soon, which is very nice for me. I appreciate it. It was very funny, and Josh is laughing because it's like this is. I mean, we all got like 5 T-shirts, and then we got a bunch of hats, and then I got a beanie, and it was very, very nice of him to do. And little things like this are what grow the legend of Big Dom. And this was, I mean,
totally.
We're going to be forever indebted, and we love Big Dom now. I mean, we loved him before, but Big Dom's our guy.
Unbelievable. Yeah. You see my reaction there, but I'm literally I'm taking it in kind of like, again, never in a million years did I envision like going to the Novacare Complex, meeting all the guys, getting the tour, all that other stuff. But then like the private VIP tour with Big Dom, going back to the equipment room and helping him practically just get all the merch possible. And then, take it home. He's like, hey, you want to get more? Let's get more. Let's keep going. And like, I thought we were done. He had like 2 more rows where he's just like, hey, you want this? Yeah, just take it. Just take it. Go ahead.
Crazy. Yep.
Unbelievable. Shout out to the legend. That's legit. And then, just real quick, throwing some shade at Hassan Reddick. We appreciate what he did while he was here, but,
He's having a rough time, but what are you going
to decide what he's going to do at Tampa, but I kind of warned. I said, hey, we'll see you week 4. But there he is. They got photos of most everybody. The wall of... Is there a term for that? Did they say it's like a wall of legends or something? Or is it just
like the Pro Bowl? I thought it was the Pro Bowl wall, but maybe it's the All-Pro wall? I don't remember.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it was... maybe
they're
it was
running
the
out
All-Pro.
of space.
They don't have as many. That's true.
Yeah.
But one individual is no longer on the wall. You can figure that one out based on talking about previously. But there you go. And then the final picture to make sure that there's Danny. I don't know why
He's
Danny
there.
didn't make it the first. He was there.
He was there. Yep.
There you go, man.
Yep. We appreciate
that was a blast.
And shout out to everybody. JD for being there, Danny for being there, Gary, and obviously Corey as well. It was great to have all of our subscribers there. And we're going to do more stuff like this in the future. So, they're randomly chosen. So you have a chance to go with us next time, which, who knows, maybe you'll get the VIP experience as well.
There we go. And shout out to everybody else, too. Like we say, it doesn't happen without every one of you guys. So
100%.
Couldn't be
100%.
Couldn't be any more thankful. Unbelievable. Great trip. And we should be back for training camp. So we'll see the official dates on that. But Christian with a 10. Appreciate that as we're getting close to
at the buzzer. There you go.
But Christian with a 10 says, first off, we Super Bowl champs. Let's go.
That's right.
2 questions here. Oh, we're going to go a little aggressive here. I like it, though. Bold.
Sure.
Let's see. Number 1, what are your thoughts on Ty Robinson and how big is he really? And then 2, I believe Jahan Dotson is going to have a big year. What do you both think?
Number 1, we did not see Ty Robinson in person, and so we're unsure on the size. But he looks big, but based on comparison, staying next to Jalen Carter and stuff like that. So I think he can. I think he can have a decently productive year. Maybe like a Moro Ojomo last year, where it's not like crazy, but he showed a lot of flashes. Then we think this year for Moro, but next year for Ty could be a big year. And then I agree. I think John Dotson's going to have a big year. Now, big is like 35, 40 catches. He had 19 last year. So double that. I'd consider a big year for, I said Jahan Campbell. I meant Jahan Dotson. So I think he's going to have a good year.
Yeah, I likewise. I mean, Ty Robinson, I don't think it's going to be your typical, well, I say typical, like, rookie year. I mean, heck, what Cooper DeJean and Quinton Mitchell. But, like, I don't think it's going to be the growing pains of some rookies where it's like, yeah, they're a rookie, you get them the benefit of the doubt. They don't need to do anything. But at the same time, like you were mentioning, Thomas, like there's JD, there's Moro Ojomo in front of him. So he'll have, probably 10 snaps a game, maybe, 15.
I think
would
so.
Be
Not a lot.
The most. But I think he could do decent. Yeah, he won't be totally out of place. He's stronger than, a lot of rookies coming in because he had 6 years in college of being able to be NFL ready or as much as possible. So I expect he'll make some plays, but we're not necessarily talking about starter wise. And then similar for Jahan Dotson, he did get I think 3 catches if I'm not mistaken from the OTAs yesterday from Jalen. Granted, that was without A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith in those routes, so maybe a different number if they had been out there. But it's better than last season, right? So we're just continue to parlay this thing along. He was good in the Super Bowl, got some targets, a little bit more trust with Jalen. So I think your top 3 receivers are set. Beyond that, I mean, who knows where it goes? Wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5.
100%.
I don't know. It's totally all in the open. I mentioned this before too. Darius Cooper, keep a lookout. Tarleton State, not a very big school, but he showed out yesterday. It was from Tanner McKee, caught a touchdown pass. So if he keeps doing that, you never know. Could be something there, but
there you
probably
go.
a long shot. So appreciate you guys as always. Again, could not happen without you. John, shout out to you. It was a fun trip. And watching from Cancun, I believe. Yeah, Olaf from Cancun.
Go. That's a very fun trip.
Must be nice. Really nice. Hopefully some good weather out there, some relaxation. There we go. Well, I think that does it. Axeman, keep up the good work, fellas. Love your videos. Go Birds.
Appreciate that.
Christian, same as well. But let us know your thoughts. Everything else, we'll keep you guys posted. Anything that happens, they are practicing tomorrow for OTAs. I'm kind of iffy. I've seen some people say there's not media access based on the beat writers.
Yeah, to be interesting.
Whatever we can find out, just keep an eye out. We'll be dropping video whenever we get any news, any other updates. So stay tuned for those. And as always, like and subscribe. We do have those giveaways coming. And until next time, we'll see you. Go Birds.
Go Birds.